everything happens. Like I thought verbal and the VR experience in the office was going to be a gimmicky thing. I actually like it. It works. Even though it sort of feels a little gimmicky, it gets the job done. The fact that we don't have to drive around to an office to waste our time, and from an operational excellence and operational efficiency standpoint, eXp has nailed it.
Hey there, future real estate legends. This is Jason P. Jordan, your go-to global real estate coach and the president and CEO of the Legends International team, brokered by eXp Realty. I just wanted to thank you for being here and welcome you to another episode of the LiT Real Estate Show, where we interview our equity partners at eXp Realty in the USA and from all around the globe. Now I just ask you to please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button and hitting that bell icon so you never miss another LiT show or any other future videos that I have then launch here on this channel. It also helps the show grow so we can get even more successful eXp Realty agents on to help you. Now, at the same time, if you're a subscriber, you'll get access to new shows before anyone in the world does. If you would, subscribe right now. Thanks so much. All right, so let me introduce our guest speaker today. So Vibhu Passi, or everybody just calls him Passi, is an exec or former exec at Amazon, Microsoft, and turned real estate disruptor. He is a Washington state broker. Check this out, closed 116 million global real estate transactions since 2021, okay? He's trilingual, so French, English, and Hindi. He's done these transactions in the US, India, Canada, Australia. He's a smart home expert and specialist at helping clients sell in India to invest in US real estate. You'll see here on the slide, I pulled up a screenshot of some of my favorites, and probably will be yours, Instagram videos that he's done. Also, I've linked them, so when you download the slides, you get a chance to click and open them. He's a licensed real estate agent, 15 years experience spanning high-tech companies like Amazon, where he led smart innovations like Alexa, probably you've heard of that before, and delivered several well-known smart home solutions that simplify lives of millions across the world. Passi is passionate about the intersection of people and technology to solve complex problems and drive innovation and growth in the real estate industry. He recently joined eXp Realty after attending eXpCon 2023. My friend Passi. Hey Passi, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. Thanks for the great introduction. That was a good summary. I would like to add, I have somebody who was a prior managing broker who joined my team, and so my production numbers are his and my numbers combined. Because I like to maintain full honesty and transparency. Yes, it's been 2.5 years officially in this business. I was an exec building smart home devices at Amazon, and I realized that was something I was enjoying, but then I wasn't quite able to scale as much. They finally put me in different homes, and we had made a custom home at Amazon one time where we were just designing these OEM experiences for LG and Samsung, and then that's when it clicked me. I'm like, why am I not doing this and designing smart home experiences in real life and doing it at scale? And at the time I was working crazy hours, and this one Sunday night I was working on this strategy doc for a product that Amazon needed to launch, and my wife's like, you really want to keep doing this for somebody else? Why don't you just do this for yourself? And that's when it just clicked. Next day, I picked up my phone, called my boss up and said, yeah, I'm not really feeling that great. I'm probably not going to be coming in. And then 2 weeks later, I officially started studying for the real estate exam. And here I am sitting in front of you guys right now. That's kind of how it all happened. I enjoyed the process of helping about 15 of my friends out before I got into real estate. I was already kind of guiding them, doing the research, finding them the right properties. I've had them buy houses in Atlanta, in Houston, in Dallas, in California, and then a couple of them in Seattle, Washington. And my wife's like, you realize people get paid for this stuff, right? You're just doing this. I'm like, yeah, it does. And then I was like, I hate taking exams. It took me forever. It took me like almost 5 months to get my real estate exams cleared. And finally, when I got it, I was excited to start. And I started with Windermere, but I always had these global goals. I always have wanted to expand and do something in I call it the US-India corridor. What I mean by that is essentially there's so many people that kind of live this dual life of living in both places. I have family in New Delhi and lots of relatives in spread out in India, in Mumbai, and some now. My brother-in-law's from Pune. Looks like somebody's from some Pune is on this call right now. And my sister's moving to Australia, and I was like, I need something that, like, I was at the top brokerage called Windermere in the area. They have the most transactions, and they have the best program going. And so I joined them. I was just like, hey, let's go from one of the best tech firms to one of the best real estate firms in the area. But then I was like, this is not quite working for me. And I wish I knew about the EXP model before. I mean, it's kind of like you have to come across it. It's a no-brainer, right?
That's what I think, but
I do think so. I don't think I drank the Kool-Aid. I do think that the model does work. Like, I think traditional real estate is not going to last for too long. I mean, I coming from a corp background and coming from a high tech background, I asked some difficult questions that none of the designated brokers could answer, and I got a little tired of not getting any answers for a long time. So I was sort of already hunting around, and I'm glad I came across EXP. And what I saw at EXPCon showed me the potential. I got a chance in about a week to not just meet folks from this group, but I also met the delivery solutions team at EXP. I'm trying to build a tool that allows transparency of transactions done in a global platform. So that's in the works right now. I've met somebody from the Houston delivery team that works in the tech space in EXP, and I'm trying to collaborate with them. And my vision is essentially the whole thing with real estate boils down to communication, right? Why would anybody want a global agent, right? We don't even have a terminology officially in the real estate industry called global agent yet, but let's try to change that. Let's actually try to come up with a way where there's a global agent terminology being used commonly, right? So I'm like, okay, how do if there isn't one, how do you make one? So I realized that essentially the way the model works is, if you think of a global agent as a project manager that watches over a broker that's in any country that you're trying to do the transaction in. That's, for example, take India and US, because that's the one I've done the transaction in. The use case for me was, one of the pipelines for my business needs to be people that live in the States, that have family overseas, that have assets overseas, that need to consolidate those funds and then sort of make it into a down payment assistance program where those funds can now be used to invest in the US. So I took that to a test and did that with one of my cousins in California, where he had a property in Delhi and I had my mom's home in Delhi that needed to be sold. So I took both of those projects on about 3.5 years ago. And we sold both of those in a span of 6 to 7 months by building a team in New Delhi. And then, the funds were redirected and real estate was bought, tax implications were looked at. And then it sort of became a pilot to what I'm now trying to build as a member of EXP. Essentially, you have to think of yourself as a global agent or a global program manager, or a global project manager, and have a trusted entity in both places. I mean, if you're licensed in the state that the transaction ends up being in the US, that's great. You end up not using the referral network. You end up sort of double dipping at that point. But on the India end, the objective of joining EXP for me is to now build a strong downline that I support. So thankfully, I was able to get along with the two Shashanks that I met and came across. I hung out with them a lot. We went and shot a couple of shotguns together. So you've got a great video of that on your Instagram. Account, right?
Yes. We also Coach BSR, which many
that's right, Coach BSR. I did not know he was a big deal. I kind of hung out with the dude. He's such a humble guy, and I kind of got to become friends with him. And I saw that the vision of EXP India is expanding, and I spend roughly about 3 to 4 weeks in India every year, just to help consolidate my mom's situation, to help her retire, and as well as just to kind of maintain my network. So I'm like, this is, from a lifestyle standpoint, EXP just kind of fits in. Like, if I can just go there and have a program in place and build a strong team with this pipeline in mind, it would work. So essentially, the building blocks to what I'm trying to do in the next 6 to 12 months is use the EXP team to leverage and see if there's a transparency communication tool built in. which shows that there's a transaction taking place in India. What the dashboard is going to show is essentially a view of what the tax implications for that transactions are going to be, what sort of funds will be considered to be moved to the US, what phases will they be moved in, and then what opportunities for investment lie in the US. So essentially, it'll be treated as the objective is to give clients an experience where it feels like it's one large transaction that's taking place that has two or three micro transactions within it. And that experience is, I think, what's needed to turn it into a global agent experience.
I've got so many people to introduce you to. And you said there's not really a global, agent, but I mean,
there is. I mean, NAR has plenty of those things. I mean, it seems like a bit of, and I'm a new guy to this industry, so I don't want to sound too critical, but it didn't seem very real to me. Like, it felt like very hokey. There's a bunch of organizations that have a bunch of international agents that meet up and party it up, and it just doesn't seem like there's a connection on real transactions and real funds moving anywhere. And I mean, it seems like stuff still happens kind of magically. The funds show up without any transparency, and I'm like, I mean, that's not how I want to do things. I kind of want to make sure that it's built into the experience. And granted, we don't want to break any laws, but there are things are getting a lot easier where there's plenty of ways to bring funds back and forth between the two countries. And
so I just wanted to stop you for a second and go back so we don't go too far ahead with meeting the eXp Realty India team and how that helped you form your decision to join, right? And that how you saw that kind of connection of the bridge coming together. And I wanted to just tell everybody on this call today, as we're having this call live, we're celebrating the 3rd year anniversary of eXp Realty in India today. So it's a really cool occasion that we have Passi, you here as an NRI, and we're talking about Indian real estate today. And I have a video that I just put out on WhatsApp, but I'll put it up on LinkedIn here. If you're watching the recording later, you'll see this, an interview that my good friend, NRI and Icon agent out of Arizona, Joe Dodani, and myself did with Glenn Sanford at eXpCon. And I asked him a question about what he feels about India, the investment we made there, and the growth of real estate. So it's an interesting interview. So if you haven't watched that, you'll get a chance to go and look at that on my LinkedIn page. So I want to talk to you, Passi, about, you had this great perspective of having a tech background. You went from not only working at Amazon to joining the Amazon of real estate, right? So it was just a smart move, right? Also, we were talking before we got started with the recording today, how there's this huge hub of a lot of NRIs, right, that live in the Seattle, Tacoma, greater area there in Washington State. It makes so much sense with the tech background and, of course, the stereotype of that all Indians are IT professionals, right? But I mean, you think about it, the heads of Microsoft, Google, right? These are, right, and many more are NRIs, right? So you were saying that you just went to a local event, and how many NRIs were there?
Yeah, we sponsored or co-sponsored one of the events. There was 6,000 people that attended this event. And my wife took me to one about 4 months ago, and I don't know where 40,000 people magically showed up. And they're all non-resident Indians. For folks that don't know the full form of NRI, it means anybody that was born in India but now resides overseas is called NRI. So anybody from living overseas outside of India is considered NRI. Essentially, the workflow that I was suggesting is focused on anybody that's built a life outside the country but has family that owns assets, or they co-own assets, or they're about to get assets through inheritance or other sources where their parents might still be overseas. And there's plenty of those people around here, like folks that are 10 years younger than me and folks that are 20 years older than me. That whole spectrum of folks are sort of stuck with this problem. And it took me 3.5 years to solve this for my mom. It wasn't easy because she's moving to the States right now. She's in fact a part of my team right now, and also joining eXp in the next 3 weeks. What it turned out to be was India is a really, really unregulated market. So what was an eye-opener for me was meeting people that understood that, meeting people that I saw in the eXp leadership, in the India team that sort of were honest about the realities of it, I'm not gonna lie, the most painful transaction I've ever done was the first one I did for my mom in India. It is so unregulated. We're so spoiled in the US with everything being so organized and processed. I mean, there's protections in place. There's nothing in place to protect the buyer or the seller. And you know, I've had to deal with legal situations, and And anyway, the point is, I figured out how to avoid all of that pain after going through the pain. And then I was like, the way this works is with trusted entities and having an incentivized model that eXp has. Essentially, you need to have something as structured as the eXp downline model, and as well as people being open to becoming business partners with you through this, and having addendums on top of the referral agreements that we already have in place to make the relationship stronger. And the foundation of the eXp global model sort of gives me that sort of, let's say, operating system to do so.
Well, not only that, Passi, but even though that you and I are not directly in lineage, right? We are equity partners, right? I know you haven't maybe earned any equity shares yet, right? But you will, right? And by selling real estate and growing your organization, and therefore we're going to work together to do transactions. And you know, our team has onboarded over 300 agents in India, right? So we have a very strong footprint across the country, you know, not just India, but and I always believed largely in the growth of what would happen in India over the years, because we've watched it in other companies that we've been part of in marketing, right? So talk to us a little bit as we're kind of ending this segment here about what you think the future of eXp Realty looks like, not only in the US, but India. You know, Glenn Sanford said at eXpCon 2021 that we would be in 50 countries and 500,000 agents. So what do you think about that?
I think eXp Exclusive and eXp Luxury is going to blow up in India. That's my prediction. And I feel that's the case because the market that trusts, in India specifically, the market that trusts using brokerages in a professional fashion is the luxury market. People with funds are the ones that actually trust using strong agents that provide professional services, and everybody else is just spoiled because it's an unregulated market. So I think the fact that eXp Exclusive has been launched, and there's going to be exclusives just for India. There's going to be villas that are launching. There's condos, which they call flats and apartments in India, that's going to be exclusively on eXp, combined with the fact that eXp Luxury is opening their and expanding their presence there. I think is a killer combination. I think India needs that. I think those two with strong leadership that India already has, will propel India to be a big market.
Absolutely. When I look at the price of real estate in Mumbai and Delhi, it's insane. And how quickly this pre-construction real estate sells there too. I remember earlier this year, Shashank Vashishta, who is our managing broker there, who those of you who don't know who he is, he shared with me a development that they had 2,000 people waiting on a launch in New Delhi, right? And these were not cheap apartments. These were luxury apartments, right? These condominiums. So, and it just amazes me. And when I learned that India has a deficit of 1.5 billion units over the next several decades, I realized that no matter what happens to the economy in the United States and Europe, right, in the Western developed countries, India is going to continue to build, right? And we see, and you probably can speak to this a little bit from the tech side, now that we see companies like Micron that have gone in and they're building a silicon factory there in Gujarat, right? We see now iPhones are being made in India, right? Not exclusively at the Foxconn plants in China, right? So I think we're going to continue to see a decoupling from China, and maybe a lot of that's going to flow to India, which is going to just, I think, flow a lot more investment into the country as well.
Yeah, it economically makes sense, right? I don't think India's magically turned the way it operates as a country overnight, but I think the facts speak for themselves. It is today the biggest population on the planet, and it's a numbers game at the end of it. Everybody wants to be at the place where the maximum numbers of consumers are, and India happens to be, the country with the most young population out there right now, between the age of 18 to 45. And then what's happening is the buying power of an educated Indian has gone up. And that being said, like there's been an outflow of like folks like me that moved to the States about 20 years ago. I mean, there's a trend that I see of folks wanting to maintain a dual lifestyle of working for companies like the ones that I work for, but like staying in India and staying here. So that lifestyle requires you to own in both places, because smart investors want to not rent anywhere. If they can own in both places, they might as well. And I think there's a cultural element to home ownership in the Indian culture. It's just sort of a very it's tied to their self-worth in the culture. It wasn't really like, just like the American dream is tied to having home ownership and a part of owning a piece of America. I think that's culturally we have that as an overlap between the two countries. And with that, I think anybody from around here that tries to resonate the same sort of value system there will be able to build a strong business in India. It doesn't matter where you build it from.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. So as we're kind of wrapping this segment up, I'm going to give you the last comment here on if somebody is here live today, or they're watching the recording in the future, and they're thinking about joining eXp Realty. And as someone who I know you shared with me, that you had several people approach you and you could have had multiple opportunities to move at several different points. What would be your advice to them?
I'd say be true to yourself. It's important to find the right leaders that you align yourself with. I picked the leaders based on supporting my bread and butter, which is my local business. But then I knew that I needed to build two new legs of this business, which is the referral network in the US, and then the India-US corridor, along with the Canada and Australia expansion that's coming. So I was trying to be true to myself, and I aligned myself with eXp specifically because the global leadership did look like a competent set of folks. I think the one thing I've learned in the last 15 years of working in the States is I think I have a good read on people. And I saw a smart set of leaders working in supporting the eXp global team, and most of the leaders that had come there were driven and were collaborative, and nothing happens without collaboration. And this whole brokerage is built on the cloud. Everything happens. And I thought Verbula and the VR experience in the office was going to be a gimmicky thing. I actually like it. It works. Even though it sort of feels a little gimmicky, it gets the job done. The fact that we don't have to drive around to an office to waste our time, and from an operational excellence and operational efficiency standpoint, eXp has nailed it. I think the only way a global, I know people don't like hearing about COVID anymore, but COVID expedited the work from home culture. And I think the reason why eXp and companies like eXp blew up is primarily because, I mean, that's one positive that came out of COVID, is like companies that were built on the cloud just grew and expanded. And so COVID ended up being the steroids that eXp needed to expand and grow it to become what it is. And I think the maturity of the tools and the systems and the processes and the leadership, people, technology, and processes came together for this company. And I see the maturity when I joined. And I highly recommend somebody that wants to build a business that's based on a strong referral network and on the preface and on the foundation of giving back and growing a global family, a global team of people. This is the company to do it in.
Well said. I couldn't agree more. And coming from a guy that worked at Microsoft, Amazon, all these high-tech companies, and he's been able to see the inside of eXp, and he says this is the real deal. So, Passi, my friend, thank you so much for doing this interview with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, I hope you found value in today's legendary interview with our special guest. If you'd like to see more interviews just like this one, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you'd like to learn more about today's guest, I placed all their contact information in the description below. Who knows, maybe they are the mentor you've been looking for. And if you're looking to make a change who you are partnered with in real estate, feel free to book a no-pressure private Zoom call with me. During this private call, I'll share with you how we help real estate agents leverage their language skills and cultural connections to close more transactions both locally and internationally using cutting-edge lead generation technology and marketing techniques. If you want to find yourself in a different situation in 90 days or in a year from now, it's important to find the right partners that can mentor you, have the right strategies, and are willing to give you the roadmap without asking for an additional cut of your commission. With the unique eXp Realty model, it's a collaboration, not competition mentality. The numbers don't lie either. So if you're curious, reach out and set up an appointment. I look forward to meeting you. Feel free to check out the other videos I have here on the channel about eXp Realty too, in case you're just curious. Otherwise, drop your questions or suggestions for upcoming guests in the comments below. Once again, I'm Jason P. Jordan, your go-to global real estate coach with the Legends International team, brokered by eXp Realty. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.